is the teacher gets offended, and then the teacher escalates the situation, you've got to get out of my class, and it becomes a consequence. Instead of that student and that teacher being able to sit down, the student understanding, what did I do? Because a lot of times our kids don't really realize what they've done. You know, their frontal lobes are not perfectly formed yet. So they may not even realize what they've done. Also, it allows that teacher in a restorative way to be able to have the student express and understand the harm that was caused, and to be able to let go of the affect that teacher might have towards the student. And by being able to use more of a restorative strategy, it takes more time in the short term, but in the long term, it's a much healthier way to address student behavior and to address the relationship that that teacher and that student has, and to address the relationship that the community then has towards the school, so that the community overall sees the school as a place we love and we care for our kids, and we expect that they're going to mess up, but we're going to hold you, as opposed to we're going to push you out, whether it's push you out for a day.
Well, let's do this, because you all can carry on this this discussion afterwards, because we only have just like a few more minutes, and I just want to get a very specific question. 1, 2, 3, and I'm sorry, that's going to end it. So your question, please.
I'm from a volunteer parent group from Georgia, and the largest school district in the state, Gwinnett. And they are receiving funding from the state to implement PBIS. However, when we reviewed the discipline report in some of the schools that did implement PBIS, the panels actually increased. So my question is, as a parent group, how can we make sure the school is implementing PBIS with fidelity?
Okay. That's a great question, because all school districts that launch PBIS face similar challenges. Oftentimes in particular schools, there's resistance by the workforce to implement it, and it's because the school districts ordinarily don't answer the right questions about it. PBIS is nothing without a system. It's simply a language. It's a way to understand how you're going to provide interventions at multiple tiers. What are some of the things we agree on that are really valuable in our school that we want there for wholesome environments for our students? That's the easy part. The hard part is answering the question, what is your system to implement PBIS? Because you can't just say, we're going to train classroom teachers in PBIS and nature's going to run its course and we're going to reduce suspensions. That's just not reality. It's not going to happen. So the system has to be one that is based on comprehensive student supports. When your district wants to launch PBIS, there need to be people attached to delivering what are called the secondary level of interventions, the children who don't respond ordinarily to the universal expectations in the school. They need more. So your school district has to invest. There's no choice in this. They have to invest in student support teams, and the public has to demand that those counselors, social workers, school psychologists, and coordinators are just as important as math and science teachers if you want children to be successful academically. So PBIS has to be attached to a system. It's not going to come in on its own and accomplish anything. Classroom teachers have to be able to teach. And I thought the question that was just asked a moment ago is actually the honest feelings that are shared by most teachers. What are you going to do with the students who have intractable challenges? Well, the district, the people in power, the folks at the top have to be able to say, this is our system. We have a referral process. There are social workers with caseloads, psychologists with caseloads. Everyone has a role to play, of course, including the classroom teacher. They can't do it alone. There has to be a student support structure that basically gives birth to PBIS in the schools. So if your district has tried to do PBIS without adequately investing in interventionists, you're going to fail.
Right. Well, let's do this, and I'm glad you made the point about the initial question that was asked, because we want to make sure that this environment is one where people can openly and honestly ask questions that are on their minds, and that we will respect their questions and give answers as need be. So thank you for making that point, and we're entertaining all of the tough, hard questions that people want to ask. And if we have more time, we entertain more questions. But we really only have time for 2 more questions. And so I'm going to my left and then one more question.
So I'm glad that I had a chance to work directly in Ballou with Orlando, his school. I don't know if he was there when I was there. Okay. And I actually work in one of the first ring suburbs of Buffalo, Kenton. So I know that race impacts a lot of the elements that go into what we expect and how we make assumptions about the students that we work with. When I first started teaching, a very long time ago, I remember the first principal who approached me, he looked me up from head to toe, he said, "I will give you 1 week. And after 1 week, you have to go." He happened to have been the first Haitian principal in New York City, so I won't give you the accent. But I think that we are literally allowing teachers, in so many cases, to kind of make their own standards. And what I mean by that, there is a formal removal policy that most states have about how you can get a kid out of a classroom. Suspension has become the thing that has become too easy for us to rely on. And I think that if we got to the notion or to the point where we made it less easy for teachers to dispose of students in classrooms, maybe we wouldn't have this issue in the first place. And I say that because I know that when he told me I had 1 week, it was either I made it work or I was going to be the one to go. I think we have an environment where it's too easy for students to go and less easy for teachers to be the ones that have to go. And I think sometimes we have a system that doesn't encourage people to move forward if you can't do this job. So I'm going to leave people with one strategy that I learned, which was told to me. For 7 days, choose a student and make sure you get to every student. For 7 days, take just 2 minutes to have a conversation with a student, non-academic, non-content specific, and get to know the student because it's really about the relationship. And at the end of the day, even the worst kid in that school, there's someone in that school that even when that kid is, hyper-vigilant and on the ceiling, someone in that school could walk to a kid and say, "Come on down, let's go."
That's right.
And that kid will walk out, head bowed, and absolutely, obedient. So when we don't think we can, and we fail to think that it's going to happen, maybe that's the point in which we have to exit the system.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, we can do better. All right, thanks so much. One last question.
Good morning. My name is Eric, and I'm an intern with Campaign for Youth Justice. My question is for Mr. Greer. I know Denver got like a gang problem out there, and I just wanted to know what kind of intervention are you going to set in place at the schools for students who may have issues with gang or violent activities to keep those students from going down the prisoner pipeline?
For students that are actively involved in gangs, we partner with the city around gang reduction strategies that individuals can use. The gang issue, which isn't a huge issue in Denver, but there are pockets of gang activity, is really a challenge for us in that we don't want to just assume that being in a gang as a young student is having implications for them in school. Sometimes students might be in a gang for a variety of reasons and it's not impacting their school at all. So going back to the original keynote conversation, really helping principals not go down the path of thinking, oh, just because this kid's wearing red, I don't want him in my building. Or just because this kid is involved in or is a wannabe in a gang, I want this kid out of my building. Really getting to know the community, getting to know the student, helping that student to make good choices and keeping the school legitimately safe are the strategies that we try to do within DPS. Again, Ricardo, I don't know if you want to add any piece to that.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Let's give a great hand for this panel. So we can dream, we can speak up, we can stand up, we can act. That's the end of this panel, but I don't want you all to go too far. We're going to have a short break, followed by breakout sessions. And those breakout sessions are in your packet. And take this to heart, that if there's like 2 or 3 that you want to attend this morning and you're afraid you're going to miss it, then they're going to be repeated this afternoon. So go to one now, and then go to another one in the afternoon. They're going to be repeated. So thank you all so much for your patience and your interest in this important issue. And thank you all so much. That's how we do it.